kind of democracy is there where you have a board of people who are going to hold you accountable for voting in a way that they don't want in a democracy? It almost seems like you don't actually want a democracy. That's what it looks like to me. Looks to me like y'all don't really want a democracy is what it looks like to me.
I have a tremendous issue there. Shout out to y'all because you showed up. The sad part for y'all that showed up is you showed up and voted against your interests. People have argued that you...
I don't know if they voted against their interests, ma'am. And I don't think that you are qualified to talk about the interests of any regular person on the planet anymore, especially in this country. We continue.
Did vote your interests. What I'm saying to you is, and I'm not trying to call you ignorant, but I believe that you voted in the long run against your interests and you don't even know it.
That's ignorance. Not that I'm calling you ignorant. Yeah, you are. You're calling them ignorant. You're saying, well, first you're calling them stupid. I mean, I'd rather be ignorant than stupid. Because you're saying you voted against your own interests. Okay, that's stupidity. But then you said, but you don't even know it. That's ignorance. Okay? Yep. So you just called them stupid and ignorant. But say it with your chest, girl. Isn't that what they say now? Say it with your chest.
You thought your interests were mass deportation. You thought your interests were getting rid of DEI. You thought your interests were ensuring that affirmative action...
I don't understand what this election had to do with DEI. Trump, that was not... DEI was not in Trump's platform. So the mass immigration stuff, definitely that was on Trump's platform. But DEI was not on Trump's platform. So what are you talking about, man?
No longer existed in institutions of higher learning for your children. What you don't realize is the ways in which these things are going to backfire and hit you even more. I gotta say that I think the biggest winner in this campaign is, once again, the white consultant class. Regardless of what party 100%. You sit in. That has to be disrupted. It has to be destroyed. We're talking about contract.
Okay, the white consultant class needs to be destroyed. Destroyed. What's up, Pascal?
In the hundreds of millions of dollars. And sure, folks will say, well, you're not looking at this right because this was a media buy. And so most of this went to TV. Well, what ROI do we have to say that it was worth the campaign spending over $200 million with one vendor for TV ad buys? The ROI is not there. This has to be disrupted. And the bottom line is there was a whole other contract for digital ad buys. What ROI do we have that says this was a good use of resources? Here's my point.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. All these people that were advising you, you had millions and trillions of dollars. That's not it.
Don't know.
All those people advising you, you had millions and trillions of dollars. She's right. She's definitely right about that. They got hosed like hardcore for sure. That was terrible. We continue.
There is nothing that y'all can do to outsmart good old-fashioned canvassing, mail, door knocking, text messages. You're not going to be able to geo-target.
Yeah, I just disagree with that because Trump proved that very clearly. He didn't do the door-to-door mail-in thing. He did the digital thing, and he kicked the crap out of your candidate. So I think you're wrong there.
Enough in a digital space, to target enough on a TV space to make up for the lack of not being involved in knocking on doors.
Kamala was knocking on doors in all the swing states, man. What are you talking about? Bame Time is very wise. He says $1 billion will buy you a lot of bad advice. We're going to blame everybody except for Kamala. Kamala was at the front of the ship. If they would have won, all the credit would have went to Kamala. So I'm sorry. Those people are consultants. They're not her boss. She was the boss.
That was an issue before Kamala Harris became the top of the ticket and the nominee for this party's nominee in this election. That was an issue that preceded Joe Biden being at the top of the ticket. This is an age-old battle that has to be fought and has to be challenged. There are Black staff who are part of the organizing community, part of canvassing, challenge paid canvassers, challenge whether or not this was the right tactic, said they didn't have the resources. Jasmine, who was the state director in Florida, Andrew, I sent you her her Twitter thread earlier. She goes in about how much they had to rely on outside resources because they couldn't get any resources from the campaign because the campaign had pretty much given up on Florida. The sad part is, y'all, that is not a Florida unique story. It is.
I mean, I think it was wise for them to give up on Florida. I knew that things were going to be really bad for Kamala because right as we started looking into, I thought the thing was going to start at 9 or whatever. Anyway, long story short, Florida got called really, really early. Like, really early. And I was like, what? They called Florida on what? I think that was the earliest one I'd ever seen get called relative to Trump. I just think that Florida was definitely a lost cause for Kamala. I mean, I think it was wise for them to do that.
The story of every battleground state director, and that has to be discussed. They spent.
Yeah, but was Florida? Somebody help me out. Applejack was Jet Adar. What was Florida ever considered to be a battleground state relative to Kamala v. Trump?
So much time and effort in ensuring that these large, rich, white consultants would keep their share, could even potentially.
Okay, Angela, are you saying that hold on. Are you saying that there was a whole bunch of black consultants that were telling Kamala to do something else, but they went with white consultants? What are we talking about here? We're going to blame everything else other than the candidate herself.
Bonuses off of a loss.
Yep.
But wouldn't get these folks the dollars they needed to get signs on the ground, to get folks on the ground knocking on doors. You guys, we went and knocked on doors. We couldn't figure out how to use the MGP van app.
Yeah.
Right. We could not say if somebody wasn't home or not. We know that firsthand.
And you're going to blame white people? We're blaming white people for that? Listen, man. He was 17 at the time. My 17-year-old son was out. He was actually, that was 2022. So he was about 16. My 16-year-old son was doing all that canvassing stuff and all that for the supposed red wave that was going to happen. He knew how to geolocate, do everything. Like, he showed me the app and everything. It was pretty self-explanatory. So she's kind of telling on herself right now. We didn't know how to work the app. That's not white people's fault. How you gonna blame white people? It's the white consultant class fault that you didn't know how to use an app? God almighty, this is insane. You couldn't call somebody and say, yo, how do we use this app? It's white people's fault? Are you kidding me?
But there are folks who did this every single day that can talk about what went wrong here. Y'all, like I said on the main episode, I was convinced this election had to have been stolen in some really remarkable, challenging way on data. It's not. We ignored the people at the bottom.
As usual.
There was ever, of course, but as usual, what we've learned as well is that nothing from the top ever trickles down. There's not a trickle-down economy. There's not a trickle-down campaign. You cannot expect that people will be touched just because folks are getting paid at the top. So there's a lot more to be said there, but that's what I got to say. The biggest loser here is the DNC, because I think that thing going to have to be disrupted and destroyed to really get back to the heart of what it was supposed to be from the beginning.
Well, the biggest loser is the American people.
Well, you don't have to destroy the DNC. All you have to do, really, is start listening to people. You don't need to blow up the DNC. Applejack is he's got mod privileges, so. You don't have to blow up the DNC. All you have to do is present someone that appeals to the electorate. Like, I don't know, Bernie Sanders? That might be it, right? Like, Bernie's a pretty attractive figure relative to that.
I came from a long line of people that just vote Republican, just right down the line, just vote Republican. That's what their parents taught them, their parents. Like, it's a long line of Republican voters. And when Bernie came on the scene, I was like, well, hold on a minute. And I was like seriously considering Bernie. And he did not have the same stand as us on stuff like abortion.
Oh, he's ruthless with abortion. Vermont is like 9 months.
So, I mean, I'm not with that at all. So I don't know what would have happened when it came time to vote, but I was absolutely looking at him as what he was going to do with Medicaid for all or Medicare for all. I was like, okay, I think we could get somewhere with this. And at the end of the day, it's how many lives can we save? So, yeah, but decisions were made.
Right. And they're not touching on that, but this really happened because of 2016. Mm-hmm. Where the Democratic Party told its constituents, no, we know more than you. We're going to go with Hillary, superdelegate Clinton, whatever.
Yep.
Carl says, Bernie doesn't appeal to the electorate. If he did, those same people would vote for him instead of Biden. Untrue. You're wrong. No, because Bernie went around like a good soldier, just like he did with Hillary, and went around and told everybody to vote for his good friend Joe Biden. Stop. No, Carl, that's not what happened. If Bernie would have said just like Trump said, hell no, if you guys try to steal the election from me, I'm going to tell all my people to vote for me. Mm-hmm. If Bernie would have said that, then there would have been no choice. Mm-hmm. No, I disagree, Carl. We continue.
I just want to echo your point, Angela. We know personally people who were given crumbs out of this huge pot of money. They were given crumbs, and these are...
Right, while the billionaire Oprah Winfrey got $2.5 million. Mm-hmm. I think that your friends who were door knocking and getting shafted, if she would have said, no, we're going to give the 2.5 million to these people, then maybe you wouldn't have this problem. But once again, who was at the top of the ticket? It was Kamala. That's her fault. Mm-hmm. Why are we blaming the white consulting class? This is insane.
People who have been doing organizing work and GOTV work for decades. People are so willing. People poured money into, I don't know about this cycle because I don't know the numbers, but previous cycles, people poured money into Never Trumpers. They poured money into the Lincoln Project. But you have people, like, you didn't dance with the ones who brung you. And I honestly just think we're looking at a space. It wasn't just that Vice President Harris lost. It was the way we were treated all the way down, like you talked about, Angela, as staff, as people outside the campaign who were trying to help this campaign win. And I want to be really clear. None of us are putting this at the feet of Vice President Harris.
Nope.
That's the problem.
That's exactly the issue.
She's the leader.
Yep.
If she would have won, you would have been saying how great her ground game was and blah. You would have given her all the credit in the world. This is one of the things that kills me. It's just like in church. The Bible says that the men are the head of the household. Great. But then when something goes wrong, it's this, it's that, it's a woman, it's that. I told my boys, because we have a man study, we talk about, marriage and all that. I said, I don't care what happens. If a divorce happens, it's a man's fault. I'm saying that as a divorced parent in front of them. You know why? Mm-hmm. That's my principle of leadership. If you're the leader, it's your fault. And if you win, you distribute the praise to everybody. But if you lose, you take it on yourself. That's how it's supposed to go. You're out here talking about all these things that people weren't getting paid. Florida got given up on too quickly, blah, 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 blah. Kamala Harris was the boss of all these people. Mm-hmm. That's her play to call. And if she didn't call that play, then it's on her. If she would have won, y'all would have said it was brilliant of her to not channel any resources to Florida because Florida was a done deal. It was brilliant, blah, 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 3D chess, yada, yada, yada. But this whole thing right here, where I'm not going to hold Kamala responsible for anything. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's why you will continue to lose. And that's why anybody with that mentality that isn't set up like these people are going to lose at life. Mm-hmm. If you're the leader, it's on you. End of story. Mm-hmm. We continue. Good night.
We're putting it at the feet of people who were in charge, who are constantly discrediting the people whose very fucking backs this democracy depends on. And when I wept for days after the election, that is what I wept about.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, at some point,
Exhausting.
the folks who get rewarded for losing elections cycle after cycle, and they get named campaign managers or named campaign chairs. That has to be, that is the first place where accountability must be had. And so
how? How? It's not like Democrats held a vote and said, who should we have as campaign manager, blah, 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 blah. I'm really disappointed by this clip here, because this is all a bunch of machinations as to try to explain why Kamala lost without putting any responsibility on her.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to have this conversation. I know that it's emotionally charged. I know this is challenging. It's hard. We've been screaming this from the beginning of the podcast. Andrew's giving y'all his own story. I know that he'll continue to do that. I hope that he'll participate in this autopsy as well, because it's not just an autopsy of this cycle. It's an autopsy of what's been wrong with the party for years.
Yeah,
and it's time for it to change. Yeah.
And black women, you do not want it to be black women versus the party. Black women, we are the backbone. So see how you do with your base. See,
I mean, black women are a guaranteed D, and the check mark. That's true, but black people are not as significant in the population anymore as Latinos. In 2003, the Latinos officially took us over as to being the second most populous group in this country. And that's because there is a plus up in abortion stats between black women and Latino women. Black women abort their children at a rate 12% higher than Latina women. And then when you add that to mass incarceration, which was authored by Joe Biden, supported by Hillary Clinton, and executed by Miss Harris, you could see why our population went down. It's hard to have a population when half those dudes are in jail, and then a bunch of the kids in the womb are getting slaughtered. That'll kind of mess with your ability to reproduce. We continue.
How that goes, since we weren't valued.
And black men, because they
black men too. But I'm just saying black women in terms of organizing. We do outnumber black men. I love black. I never believed the Trump BS. I know brothers are right there with us. I don't even believe.
Again, I never believed the Trump BS. Trump wasn't the one that created the narrative that black dudes were abandoning Kamala. It was Barack Hussein Obama that showed up with his skinny finger and told us we had to vote for Shorty. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. That was not. So anything unfavorable that they don't like has to be Trump BS. Because we just can't look at reality for what it is.
That Trump gained ground with black men, but the
he did.
I would say one distinction is when black women organize a community of people that includes black men and black women. Black women are constantly on the front lines as poll workers, organizers, just disproportionate to any other group, including our brothers, our black men. But this is not meant to put black men down or disparage black men. We need y'all. We love y'all. Y'all are right there with us in this fight. But I am just so frustrated and heartbroken by the way we're treated. It is so exhausting. It's so exhausting. And I don't know how you hold on to hope, but I'll tell you guys, I don't have an ounce of fucking energy to do anything for this party, this country. All I want to do is make sure my people are okay. I'm running out of the fight, to be honest. If this is what y'all wanted, have at it. Let it burn. I want to make sure that my people...
No, they want to be able to buy eggs at Walmart, man. All this other stuff that you're talking about, like, I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm just saying they want to buy eggs at Walmart, man. This worrying about all the metaphysical implications of what this vote means is a privilege of people who are not in economic duress. If you were in economic duress, you wouldn't care about black, white, red, anything.
People are okay. That's just where I am, truly.
I hate this. I know that this probably means that we'll have to do a part 2 on this.
Yes.
As we continue to figure out what happened in this election, as we continue to wrestle with our own feelings and the facts. And we'll always do that right here on Native Land Pod. So thank you all so much.
And nobody's wrong for how they feel. That's for damn sure.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. Welcome home, y'all.
Oscar, good point. We Latinos, hold on. We have Oscar H. I'm going to assume that's Hernandez. Super chat. We Latinos voted in the first woman president in Mexico. How are we sexist? Correct. That's a good one. So Mexico had their first female presidente.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she was